everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again to review Cobra Kai Season 3, Episode 2, Nature versus Nurture. Wow, this was a really good episode. I have to say, I think that this was a almost perfect episode. I'll just go right off the bat. I give this episode an A. It's so close to getting an A+, it's not even funny. It's just like a little, there were two things that I kind of had an issue with that I'll go over. First off, we get this, Crease Flashback. It's a flashback where they kind of trick you. First, they show this jock character, very stereotypical 1950s sort of story going on with this jock and this stupid girl who just, dates whoever's in front of her. And, I know all about those, and she's with this jock, and we think the jock is Crease. And then there's this waiter there, and then he's getting bullied by the jock. But then it turns out the waiter is Crease, and I thought that was cool. That was a nice little twist. The one thing I had an issue with is I just think that, I don't know, it just kind of seemed a little stereotypical, the whole thing. Like, I don't know, it's just, we've seen so much of this, like, imagery of, like, he's got the Letterman jacket on, and she's got this outfit on. It looks so cliche type. It looks, I don't know, it's just, something about it just seemed kind of fake. And then I'm going to just continue the backstory so we can get to the other stories after that, so I don't cut back and forth. But basically, we get, after work, the waiter, Crease. So Crease was a waiter, and he had the little hat on, the white hat. I thought that was funny, seeing him with that hat on. And he comes out the back door, and this is what I mean by, like, it seemed like a little fake, a little contrived, because right when he's taking out the trash, he sees the jock beating up his girlfriend. And, it's like, really? Come on. Like, right when this guy is standing right in front of the back door. It's almost like a coincidental, like, video game flashback where, just everything is right in front of you. And, he just happens to be beating his girlfriend at the exact moment when Crease is coming out to take out the trash. I just thought that's a little silly. I mean, come on. You could have had, like, a little thing where, like, he takes out the trash, and then he hears a noise, and then he walks around the corner to see him beating her up. You could have had something like that. But then, to make it a little better, we got this awesome fight where Crease does, like, a little brawl, and he wins. It's badass. It's awesome. And then, of course, he takes the girl, and they hook up, I guess. And then, so, to end this backstory, Crease is going to join the army. Or so he leads us to believe. And it's basically him saying goodbye to this girl and getting on the bus. And I don't know, I really liked it. I really like seeing Crease's backstory. I like the idea of it. I like the idea that we get to see the backstory of a character who, I never thought I would get to see Crease's backstory in my lifetime, and I thought, I really appreciate that. But I do kind of wish there was a little more to it, because it just seemed kind of like, basic, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it seemed very basic. And, I don't know if they'll elaborate on it later, but, like, we've gotten some really good flashbacks before with other characters, like with like with Johnny, we got that flashback with him and his dad, and him with the, the music, and I really like that backstory a lot, from season 1. So yeah, sorry, I had to, turn the car on so I could plug in my phone. It was really low on battery. I apologize for that. But anyway, so yeah, Crease's backstory, a little too basic for me. And, it also had the biggest pet peeve I have with a lot of shows and television nowadays, which is when they do a flashback of, or let's just say you're watching a historical movie. What do? They suck all the color out of it to make everything look gray and dull and ugly. And, I just hate seeing that. I get so pissed off when I see things, like historical things, like, oh, this took place in the 50s, so that means that everything was ugly and dull and gray and darker. I think that's stupid. I think that, it's sort of a waste of time, and it's sort of like a very artificial way of trying to make everything look vintage by putting like a vintage filter over it. But I still liked it. I still liked it a lot, actually. I wasn't sitting there getting angry like I do with other things. Obviously this show, when I'll say it once, I'll say it again. When I watch Cobra Kai, I just have a huge smile on my face. Which I know is very hard for people to imagine, since usually I'm like, it's hard to imagine me smiling, but trust me, I just love watching Cobra Kai. It's such a treat to watch. I'm only watching one a week and reviewing one a week. I don't like binge watching. So yeah. And so for the rest of the story, we have, let's start with Tori, because I really like that a lot, actually. We get this little side story with Tori, where it's basically about her having to take care of her family, and she's having trouble paying the rent, and she's basically not in Cobra Kai right now, and apparently she avoided going to juvie because she's a caretaker. And I thought that's a cool little twist in that. I'm glad she didn't go to juvie, and we have the whole, like, cliche juvie storyline. I wasn't really looking forward to that aspect of the story. I thought that would be kind of silly, and lead to some weird, like, just, I don't know. But she has this pedophile landlord, and basically he says, give me rent! Thumbs up this video if you know where that's from. and he's like, give me rent, or blow me, because he's a pedophile. And it's like, oh god, this is a dark story. I'm glad that Cobra Kai is actually taking it there, because a lot of the show has been goofy, funny, light, and so I'm glad that they're doing that. I'm glad that they're not just, sugarcoating everything, because people have complained about that. I've seen, like, people saying, like, it's just a joke. It's like a joke show. And when they do things like this, have little stories like this, it really shows it's not a joke at all. And then, of course, Crease comes over, and actually Crease kind of becomes a little of an anti-hero in this episode. Because, first off, we have the really goofy storyline of having these little kids in Cobra Kai, which I always kind of thought was like, this is kind of silly. But Crease basically kicks them out by trying to get them to feed their new snake. And of course, none of the little kids will do that because they're pussies. And so he kicks them out. I'm glad. That was a great little piece of writing. They just wrote those kids out of the story. I'm so glad we didn't have to have more, like, goofy, like, oh, look, now the little kids are gonna fight, and the little kids are gonna fight. Like, you know what I mean? And so I thought that was really cool, a way to get them out. And then Crease basically threatens to cut the pedophile landlord's finger off. And I think that he still cuts his finger off because he does not show mercy. And so if he did show mercy, it would kind of put a little ding in his character that has been developed over the years. Because he's got the cigar cutter and he's got it on this guy's finger. And I'm like, please cut it. Because this guy is gross. He's probably done this before. And there's like, and basically he just threatens him into letting Tori take as much time as she needs to get the rent. And then also, I don't think that he has her pay for Cobra Kai. I might be wrong, but I think that was the arrangement. And I thought, that was a really good story. That's part of the reason why I gave this episode such a high grade. Because I love that story with Tori. And I thought this is probably the best Tori has been the whole series so far. Seeing this sort of different side of her, where she isn't like in public, showing off, being the badass type of person. This is her at home. This is who she really is. And so I really like seeing that. And then with Miguel, we have a little tiny storyline where he's up. He woke up because he had some fights in his head in the coma. And he's eating food and he's just having a blast, kind of. And then Johnny visits him at the end and he basically tells Johnny to F off. And I'm glad that they did that. I really like the pacing of this episode. I complained in the first episode that it was very, very fast-paced to the point of seeming rushed. Well, in this episode, everything slowed down to a better pace where I feel like fits the stories going on. And as well, so yeah, with Miguel, let's see what happens with him. He's got a long way to go. He's got to recover from this. He might never walk again. He's got a long way to go. And even though I did want him dead, kind of, because I'm dark, and so I wanted like a dark storyline where like he dies. But this is fine too. I'm okay with that. Because it's done so well. If it was done bad, if the show was bad, then I wouldn't have liked it, but it's done really well. And finally, we have the main story of the episode, which is Johnny and Daniel teaming up together to find Robbie. And boy, is it a fun little adventure. It's them driving around. Eventually, they find someone. It's the car that they stole from the LaRusso dealership, and then they track him down to this junkyard and fight these goons. And they have a little moment where it gets intense, and they had to do this prison interrogation. It is really fun and just A+ material. The only thing I had an issue with was the writing of the jokes in the car. Okay, I like the first joke, the Tango and Cash joke. She says, "You guys sound like Tango and Cash." And he's like, "No, they were narcotics detectives." And that was funny. But then after that, they do this little exchange where Daniel says they were playing good cop, bad cop. And then the wife says, "You guys know you're not cops, right?" And it's like, wait, what? That just completely undercut the joke before that, where they were joking about these guys sounding like Tango and Cash. And so I thought that was stupid. I thought, you should have just, cut that second joke out. Just don't have a joke there. You didn't need one. You already had a really good joke. And so, yeah, I didn't think that made sense. It undercut that joke before that. And I kind of was like, what? And we had a really cool fight in the junkyard. And then finally, Daniel finds Robbie. And Robbie is in bad shape. He cut his hair, apparently. He's starving. And so he basically found his mom in rehab. And he's with her. and Daniel basically tricks him into getting arrested. And it's a little dark as well, because it's like, Daniel tricked him. He didn't try to talk it out. He knew that he was going to try to run away again, so he just had to bite the bullet and get him caught. And I loved everything in this episode. I just thought it was great. I thought this was an example of great writing, great characters, great music. I mean, come on, the music, that 80s type of music that we all love. Such a perfect episode of television. This episode shat all over Your Honor. For those of you who don't know, I'm reviewing this show called Your Honor, and basically it's Breaking Bad light, but with lots of soap opera drama. Takes place in New Orleans, and it sucks compared to this. I'm so glad that Cobra Kai is on, because I'm getting so sick of, like, every Sunday having to watch this cringy melodrama where it's like, this over-the-top sad music and, these stupid, just, ugh. This show is so much better. It really shows that the writers know the material, and they're really good at developing characters. Because, I mean, this episode could have just been a Tori episode. I still would have loved it and given it an A. So, yeah, I really like this episode. Once again, I give it an A. And I can't wait to see next week's episode, episode 3, whatever that's called. And so, yeah, if you guys like this video, please like it, subscribe, and comment. Or you could dislike, like a jackass. I don't care. Do all that crap. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon for Cobra Kai Season 3, Episode 3.